Brian, what are we gonna do today?
We're gonna play 24 hours of poker.
Why?
Because we're doing a 24-hour vlog.
That's right. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are gonna play poker for 24 hours straight. Wanted to do something fun while I was out here in Vegas. Wanted to do something I haven't seen any other vloggers do. I think this is a really cool idea. We'll see how it goes. Walking over to the Wynn right now and very excited. Let's go. Let's get it. 24 hours of poker coming at you. Let's do it. One thing that Brian and I talked about was making sure we pace ourselves. We got a long session ahead of us and we don't want to go broke or go to bed before the end. The deck, however, wants to start things off at full throttle as we pick up pocket aces right away. There's an early position open at $10, middle position calls, the hijack calls, and the cutoff raises to 45. This is music to my ears and I put in the 4-bet to 125. It folds back to the cutoff, who has no fear, and makes the call. Our heads up and the flop comes 9-5-2 rainbow. As safe a board for a 4-bet pot with aces as you could possibly ask for. The cutoff checks. I have just about a pot size bet left behind and I think about betting small, but what sort of hands call 4-bet to 125 pre-flop? Usually a range of pocket pairs and ace-king, ace-queen type hands. Well, we double block ace-king and ace-queen. Let's target those overpairs, 10s through kings. The only hand we have to be worried about that may have played this way are 9s, and if he has 9s, then it's just a cooler. I jam for about $300. The cutoff doesn't fold right away, which is great, but he does eventually let his hand go, so we don't get max value in this one. Still, nice to start off a marathon session with a win. In this one, we're under the gun with a pair of black jacks. I open at $15. The cutoff and big blind call, and we're 3 ways to a flop of king 5-3 rainbow. The big blind checks. I continue with a bet of $25. And once again, both players make the call. Turn comes the 10 of diamonds. This time I slow down and check, and it checks through. The river comes in a relatively safe card, the 7 of diamonds. When the big blind checks again here, now I think we can go for some thin value. Doesn't seem like anyone has a king, so I bet out $70. The cutoff quickly calls, and then the big blind springs the trap and goes all in for 225. Oh, why did I decide to go for thin value here when we could have just checked it down? Oh well, this is never a bluff. In addition, the cutoff called my $70 bet as well, so we may be beating both spots. I make the discipline fold here, and the cutoff only has about $30 left, so he calls, and we get to see what the big blind had, which was an absolute monster. Pocket 10s. The big blind shows his set, and the cutoff lashes ace-king before throwing it into the muck. We were solidly in last place on this one. Thanks again, jacks. In this one, we look down at king-jack suited in the big blind. The hijack opens at $15. The cutoff calls. This could be a raise sometimes, but this time I just make the call in the big blind, and we're 3 ways to a flop of ace 10-7, 2 hearts. I check. The hijack bets out $20. The cutoff calls. We got a gut shot and backdoor spades. I'm in there as well, and the turn is a good card, the 3 of spades. I check. The hijack now bets out $50. Again, I think this can be a raise a lot of the time with a combo draw here, but this time I like to just make the call. The river's an interesting one, the 8 of hearts. We missed everything, and I don't think king high is going to get the job done here. The way this hand has been played, I think we're up against a strong ace, but we can rep hearts. Check, call, flop, check, call, turn, lead river when the front door flush comes in. That's a believable line. I'd believe it. Let's go for it. I bet out 125. Hijack pretty quickly shows me he doesn't care about my fake story and makes the call. I tell him he's good, I missed, and he shows us ace 8 of diamonds for 2 pair. Very unfortunate that river gave our opponent 2 pair here, as I think just an ace would have made that fold, but alas, we lose this one. For our next adventure, I'm under the gun +1 and look down at jack 9 suited. I limp in, and middle position opens at $15. Falls back around to me, and I make the call. We're heads up to a flop of king 10-7, 2 spades. I check. Middle position bets out $45, which is just under half his stack. We flop the double gutter with backdoor clubs. I'm certainly not going anywhere, and I make the call. The turn is actually the best card in the entire deck, the 8 of clubs. Not only do we get there, we're on an open-ended straight flush draw. I check. The middle position shoves his remaining $69 into the middle. Nice. Might as well have shoved it right in front of me because I make the call, and the river, 7 of hearts, is a little bit dicey, but our opponent has ace-king, and we still have the best hand. Apparently no one told the dealer though, but after some confusion, the chips are pushed our way, and we have the winner. What's up, guys? Just taking a break here in between sets to check my YouTube analytics, and it turns out that only about 78% of you guys are subscribed. Listen, guys, if I can be in here lifting, editing the vlogs, and checking my analytics all at once, you guys can hit that subscribe button. Do me a favor, click it. Thanks in advance. We next look down at ace-queen offsuit middle position. There's a straddle on and one limper ahead of me already. I open at $25. The hijack quickly raises to 75 with 175 behind. Folds back around to me, and although ace-queen and I have a pretty tumultuous relationship, I make the call, and we're heads up to a flop of king deuce-deuce, 2 diamonds. I check, and surprisingly, our opponent checks back. The turn is the 6 of hearts. I check again, expecting a bet from my opponent most of the time here, but once again, he surprises me and checks. Either this is the slowest slow play of all time, or our opponent is afraid of that king out there, pair and wants to get to showdown with a smaller pair. The river is a fantastic card, the queen of diamonds. Now, I think we're going to beat most of our opponent's hands in this spot, but I think a bet will likely fold them all out. So once again, I check, and this does the trick when our opponent can't stand checking a third time. He fires out a bet of $60. I quickly make the call, and was right in my assessment that our opponent had a pocket pair below kings. Unfortunately, that pair happens to be queens, and we get absolutely smashed in this spot. Oh, what a card on the river there. Honestly, I think we got away pretty cheap here after seeing what we were up against. I'm really not too mad about it, guys. We look down at a suited ace in middle position for this one. I open at $15, only the hijack calls. And we're heads up to a flop of ace, 8-4, 2 hearts. We've got top 2 and a pot to start building, so I bet out $15, and the hijack calls. The turn is a 9 of clubs. This time we go a little bit bigger and bet out 35. Once again, our opponent in the hijack makes the call. The river is now the 10 of diamonds. We've bet small every street until now to make sure we get called, but now it's time to go for that big river bet and hope to get paid. I go with a full pot sizing of $135, and our opponent snap calls. I turn over our 2 pair, and it's good. My buddy Brian was able to spot an ace in our opponent's hand when he mucked as he tossed his cards pretty high in the air, so I'm very glad we went with the bigger sizing here, as I think an ace calls a lot of the time, and we take this one down. We upgrade a bit in the suited ace department, this time looking down at ace-king suited under the gun +1. I open at $20. The button and small blind make the call. We're 3 ways to a flop of jack, 8-7, 2 hearts. The small blind checks, and we're going to continue here with a half pot sizing. I bet out $30. Then quite a series of events unfolds. The button raises to 110, and the small blind snap calls before the dealer even finished counting out the button's money. This is some pretty strong action from both players, but we do still have a draw to the nuts. The board currently isn't paired, so I make the call. The turn is a pretty good one, the king of diamonds. However, after the action on the flop, top pair may not even be good here, so I'll be fine to check and see what happens. Somewhat surprisingly, the turn checks through. The river comes the 10 of diamonds, small blind takes the lead and bets out for $160. I don't quite believe him, but having hearts here is pretty bad. I would feel much better if my cards were any other suit. However, in the moment, I decide to make the call, and unfortunately the button calls as well. So I know pretty quickly we're not winning this hand. There are times in poker when you'll be wrong about your opponent's hand, but rarely do you get to be so wrong about 2 hands at the same time. The small blind shows pocket 8s for a flopped set, and the button turns over pocket 10s for the rivered bigger set. Quite a shame that 10 on the river wasn't the 10 of hearts, because then we'd have stacked both of these guys here, but it wasn't meant to be this time. In this next hand, we're 3 ways straight to the flop, and the middle position player to my right is all in. I had made it about $20 to go pre-flop with ace-jack offsuit in the low jack, and both the button and middle position player called. This guy in middle position had been mentioning he's waiting for a hand to ship it as he has to make a dinner reservation, and apparently, this is that hand. He ships it for $140. We have top pair, decent kicker here, and that's certainly ahead of the I've been waiting to go all in range. The button is still around, but this is such a big bet that I don't think isolation in this spot is necessary. I make the call, but unfortunately the button does call as well. We're now heads up against the button in a dry side pot, and the turn comes the queen of spades. I check, and now the button ships his remaining stack of about $350. There's really not much more we can do here. I hate this spot. I was very confident that we were ahead of the middle position player, but clearly the button has us beat. I make the fold, and the river comes the 2 spades. Middle position player announces, king high, you win. Button shows a set of 5s. I knew the middle position player was full of it. The button just caught a set on us at the worst possible time. I'm very glad we didn't decide to try to isolate the middle position player on the flop, as I had considered doing, as we would have gotten wrecked. Up next, we look down at another suited ace under the gun, and I open to $15. Folds around to the cutoff, who raises to 40. I make the call, and we're heads up to a flop of ace, jack, 8, 2 hearts. Out of position here, I check, and the cutoff checks back. The turn brings the flush in with the 10 of hearts. I check again. The cutoff now bets out $60. We still have top pair and now a gut shot as well, so I make the call. The river is a 6 of hearts. Now look, I'm gonna be honest here, guys. I didn't have a specific read or anything in this spot. I just really tend to like bluffing 4 to a flush boards. I find that unless our opponent has the nuts or very, very close to it, we can get a lot of folds in these spots. So I go for it, bet out $150, and like clockwork, the cutoff snap folds, saying something about terrible river. This play doesn't always work out, but when it does, it feels great. We apply some pressure, and we take this one down. When you're aiming to play 24 hours, you can afford to be a little more selective with your starting hands, and we are loving the suited aces today. I pick up ace queen of diamonds on the button and open it to $20. Only middle position and the cutoff make the call. The cutoff is our buddy Brian. The flop is not too bad, 10-9-8 all diamonds. Middle position and the cutoff check to me, and unless you're Mariano, it's pretty hard to flop the straight flush against a nut flush, so I feel pretty safe for the time being. I want to give my opponents a chance to catch up here, so I play this one a little bit tricky and check back. The turn is the king of hearts. Middle position checks and finally someone puts some money in when the cutoff, my buddy Brian bets $55. I could raise here, but playing in position, I don't want to blow my opponent off his hand. Plus, middle position still hasn't acted yet, and I'd love for him to get a great price and come along too. In addition, I know that my buddy knows that I wouldn't raise him light here. So I just make the call, but unfortunately middle position player does make the fold. River comes as clean a card as possible, the 2 of spades. The cutoff checks, he has about $350 left in his stack. We have the effective nuts, and I could bet small here to ensure we get a call, but I know my buddy Brian, and more importantly, he knows me. If I bet a small size here, my hand might as well be face up. However, he knows I love to pull big moves on the river, much like the prior hand. And while my goal here is not to bankrupt my friends, it is to get great content. I decide to polarize huge here and go for all of it when I announce a massive all-in overbet for $350 effective. I expect to fold almost all the time here, which is completely fine. I'll happily show the nuts and move on. But sometimes I know I'll get caught here because sometimes I will be bluffing in these spots. What I did not expect, however, was my buddy to be put in a crazy spot here with the king high flush. He's deep in the tank and announces out loud that he has the king high flush. And honestly, guys, I don't know what would be better, for him to make a sick laydown here or to get the call and show the nuts. After a while, he decides it's too good not to look me up and makes the call. I showed the goods for quite the cooler and we take this one down. I feel a bit bad that it's against my buddy, but he takes it like a champ, knows we're here to get content, and we're on to the next one.
What's up, guys? I got a hand history here for you. My phone was dying, so I actually did not get to record this hand. Also, like running out of space, so I constantly have to go in, delete old hands, upload them, get them off my phone for storage reasons, so kind of having some issues. But I wanted to get this down before I forget it. We got pocket eights on the button. There's a raise pre-flop from early position to 15, then middle position 3 bets to 45. The cutoff calls, I call, early position calls. Before ways to a flop that comes queen 6-7. I'm gonna be honest, don't remember the suits, but I do know there was not a flush draw out there. It checks to middle position, who c-bets for 35. Everyone calls. Turn comes a 5, so now we're open-ended. Checks to the middle position player again, who bets 70. The cutoff calls, I call. We do lose the early position player, so we're 3 ways to a river that comes an ace. So we've bricked out our draw, probably just gonna fold to any bet here, but the middle position player checks. Cutoff thinks for a little bit, that's our buddy Brian. He does eventually check. I'm not gonna try to bluff this one. We have a little bit of showdown value, probably not gonna win the hand with an ace and a queen out there. I check back. Middle position player shows king 7. The cutoff is hesitant to show. I flip over my 8s and we actually take it down. Very surprised that we won that one, but very, very happy with it. Now we are back to even. Huge hand, got some space on my phone to record now. Wanted to get it down while it's still fresh in my memory. Let's get back to the action. Let's go. What's up, guys? Ran into someone you may recognize here walking through the halls of the Wynn.
Let's go.
We got Big Poppy himself right here, Joey Ingram.
How's it going?
Joey, what do you think about this? I'm doing a 24-hour straight challenge.
I love it.
Yeah?
So I've done a couple 24-hour poker sessions before. I played the most hands ever in a day for Hold'em and PLO online.
Yeah.
In 24 hours.
Oh.
So I used to do these challenges, but I used to get people to pay me money when I did them. You're just doing it for free.
I'm doing it for free.
You're doing it like
yeah.
for heart and soul.
Yeah.
People would pay. They would bet me like 30K. I couldn't do it.
24 hours seems...
yeah, 24 hours good though.
Yeah,
How's it going? How far in are you?
I'm even right now. I'm about 12 hours in.
You have to win though, right?
Oh, if I don't win, it'll look bad. Yeah.
No, if you don't win, you gotta do it again.
Ooh, just do one.
You gotta win. You can't. There's gotta be 24 hours and win. It can't be you just do it and fucking do it. You gotta be a winner at that.
I know 24 hours is a little short for one of your live streams, but
yeah, you gotta give yourself a challenge because then you don't do it. You gotta come back again the next time. Like I'm trying it again.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks so much.
It's my personal challenge.
Yeah.
You gotta win. If you don't win, you gotta do it again.
You guys heard it first from Joey Ingram himself. Gonna have to do it again if we don't win.
Let's go.
Still riding the second hand high from hanging out with Joey Ingram, I'm back at the table and have another suited ace of diamonds on the button. There's an early position open to $15, middle position in the hijack call. The hijack is a fellow content creator and TikTok star that you may know, Jadasaur. We've been chatting for a bit and I can tell she would love to stack me. This will come into play later. This I think would be a great squeeze spot, but it's also fine to just call and get to play the hand in position, which is what I do this time. I make the call and we're 4 ways to a flop of 8-8-3 2 diamonds. Early position raiser checks, middle position bets $35. Jade calls in the hijack, we got a draw to the nut flush, I'm going nowhere, and I make the call as well. Early position player folds. We're 3 ways to a beautiful turn card, the 6 of diamonds. Flushes are on a fire sale today apparently, and after a rough start to the session where it seemed like I couldn't do anything right, Now it feels like I can't miss. Middle position slows down and checks, and now Jade takes the lead and bets out $65. It's a paired board, so a little scary here, but once again, I don't want to blow my opponent off her hand just yet. I've watched Jade play a bit, and she's pretty solid, but has folded to pressure in multiple spots already today, so I'd rather let her keep betting into me instead of revealing the strength of my hand just yet. I make the call, and the middle position player folds. We're now heads up to a river, which brings the ace of clubs. Jade now slows down and checks, and I'm trying to decide on what the right sizing is here. As I mentioned earlier, I know this particular player wants to beat me in a big hand. She's mentioned it to me before, so I decide on a bet of $150. Jade is now deep in the tank. She thinks for quite a while, and I actually paused the recording on my phone because I'm running out of space, which is a new issue I'm contending with now that I regularly vlog, but that's besides the point. Eventually, Jade doesn't call, nor does she fold. She jams for her remaining $250. There is no hesitation in my call here. A full house would have jammed much, much sooner. This is either a naked 8 or a smaller flush, and let's go to the tape and find out.
I had it. Sorry.
Nice, good hand, dude. Oh my god. I thought you were bluffing me, man.
Sorry, Jade, no bluff this time, but I love the heart, and you're definitely right that I would make this move with a missed draw. We take down another big one here, and the night is still not over. We're on the cutoff for this hand when I look down at King 10 of clubs, a few limpers to me, and I open to $15. Only the button calls, and we're heads up to a flop of 9-4-2 all clubs. We are drilling these flushes today. I slow down and check, hoping to induce a bet here, which we do get when the button bets out $25. Nothing to do here but call. We wanted to induce a bet, we got what we wanted, and once again, I don't want to blow my opponent off a hand when he's betting into me. The turn is a nice card, the 8 of hearts. As long as the board doesn't pair or any more clubs come out, all these low connected cards are great for the button's calling range. I check, but he slows down this time and checks back. The river comes another clean card, the 5 of diamonds. I don't want this to go check again, but I've also gone with the huge sizings multiple times already during this session today, so I'd like to mix things up and not be too predictable. I bet out a very tiny sizing of $15, hoping this would look suspicious as all hell, and it does the trick, and the button raises things up to $50. Now, we've secured a little extra money in this pot, we can safely blast off once again. I 3-bet up to $200, hoping to get called by maybe a straight or a 2 pair, but unfortunately, our opponent folds pretty quickly. He didn't think long at all here, so I don't think he had much of a hand. Very likely we got max value in this spot with our tiny little river bet inducing a raise. Not a particularly large pot, but I'm very happy with how we played it. In this one, we're continuing the trend of only playing suited cards. When I look down at King 9 of hearts in middle position, there's a straddle on for $6, I just limp, as does half the table. And we're 5 ways to a flop of Queen 10-7, 2 hearts. Checks to the hijack, who bets out $45. We have a gut shot straight flush draw here, not to mention regular straights or flushes. I guess those would be okay too, right? I raise it up to $100, and the hijack wants to play for all of it when he jams for about $250. We are never folding in this spot. I make the call, and we're off to a run out. The turn and river come the 5 of clubs and 9 of spades. I tell my opponent I missed, but hit a 9 on the river. He also missed and shows ace jack off. We both miss our draws, I just missed better in this spot, and we take down a surprisingly large pot for just a pair of 9s. Can't complain about it, but I must admit at this point I am starting to fade and fast. In this next hand, I missed recording most of the action, but less important than the hand itself is what occurred outside of it. As a summary, I hit trips, and on the river, one of the players of the table was getting up to leave. I had been chatting with her during the hand, as we had been very friendly at the table, and apparently made some sort of hand gesture that looked like a check. My opponent checked back and started to flip his hand over when I tried to stop him, and informed both him and the dealer that I certainly did not intend to check. Unfortunately, the dealer did not agree, called the floor over, and it was ruled that I had made a motion too close to a check to determine any intention otherwise, which was a bit annoying to me, but it's getting late, and I'm too tired to argue with the floor, which is always a bad idea anyway. I table my hand and just take down a small pot. Moral of the story is to be very, very careful about everything you're doing while you're at the table in hand, and don't argue with the floor, even when you're correct. Just not worth it in the long run, guys. In this one, I have to apologize to you guys, my loyal viewers, who have made it this far into my longest vlog to date. I'm gonna play an unsuited ace here, and I'm almost embarrassed, but the kicker made me do it. Anyway, we look down at ace king in middle position, and I open to $20. We get 2 customers, the big blind and under the gun +1, who can feel my weakness here with an unsuited ace instead of a suited one. Honestly, I don't know why I'm even in this hand at all, but We're 3 ways to a flop of 8-5-4 rainbow. The big blind now takes the lead and bets out $45. Under the gun +1 folds. Our hand may not be suited, but it's still too strong to let go here to 1 bet. I make the call, and the turn significantly improves my outlook on the situation when it comes the king of clubs. The big blind bets $45 again, and with only a little over $100 left in his stack, pretty easy all in here. I shove, he calls. River pairs the board with the 4 spades, but that's not going to save our friend here. I table the disgusting offsuit ace-king. Once again, sorry guys for even showing a non-suited ace, but the big blind mucks and we take this one down. Just goes to show any two can get the job done, and we rake in a nice pot here. What would end up being our final hand of the night, I promise you all that made it this far, I won't end with 2 random unsuited cards like that last hand. We look down at a much better looking queen 10 of clubs in under the gun +1. I open at $15, the hijack calls, and the button calls as well. We're 3 ways to a flop of Jack-Jack-4 rainbow. We've got absolutely nothing going on here, not even a backdoor flush draw. But apparently, no one has much going on the flop as it checks around. The turn brings us some life though with the king of hearts. Now we're open-ended. I check, the hijack bets out $20. And for such a cheap price, I consider a raise, but if we get 3-bet here, we'd have to fold, and I would like to see this river. So I make the call, and the run good continues. When the river comes the ace of clubs. We have a very, very hidden straight here. I check again, and the hijack bets out $45. If he has a jack, he's never folding, but I don't want to go too big in case he only has an ace or a king, so I raise to just over 3x and make it $145 to go. The hijack doesn't think too long before calling. We show the goods, and he mucks. Very shortly after this hand, my table breaks. It's been about 16 hours, almost on the dot, and I am a zombie. I'd like to keep pushing for the challenge, but there aren't even enough seats for everyone, so I kindly bow out, say a quick prayer of apology to Joey Ingram, and head out for the night after a very long but successful poker session.
That's it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Honestly, I really wish I could have made the full 24 hours, but you know, 16 is still pretty damn good. And it was one of the most fun sessions I've ever played. Got to play with Jade. Also got to play with Trappoker, whose name is also Josh. So that was really cool. He actually came over to our table, saw Jade and I, recognized both of us, and quickly transferred over. Unfortunately, Josh and I didn't get into any big hands together, but I wanted to give him a shout out as well. Also, so cool that I decided to take a walk to do that hand history with the pocket eights hand and ran into Joey Ingram randomly in the hallways of the Encore at around midnight, 1 a.m. So honestly, it's a good thing we stopped when we did because I was starting to get kind of delirious. I had misplayed a few hands. We had that incident with the Jack-9 where I supposedly checked by accident. There was also a hand where I completely misread the board. I had top 2 pair and I ended up folding when someone else had bottom 2 pair. When you play that long, it's really hard to keep mentally focused, no matter how much caffeine you put in your body. But I will be trying that challenge again. I'm so grateful I did it. I had a great time. Numbers here, booked a solid win over 16 hours of playing, and hopefully you guys enjoyed every second of it. Again, I know I did. Don't want to make the outro too long. Thanks so much for watching. If you've made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing, guys? Click that button, like this video, leave a comment, share it with your friends. Good luck out there on the felts, and I'll see you next time.